Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to tonight's final bonus before tonight's Saturday Nightmares live from New York at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go, and yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into tonight's bonus, shall we?
Black bear or big dog, large animal spotted roaming in Hermiston. Hermiston, Oregon. What would you do if you went to your backyard for some fresh air and found yourself in a staring contest with a black bear? For some, panic would ensue, while others may freeze, but your best bet is to go back inside and call your local authorities. According to a social media post from the Umatilla County Sheriff's Office, that's what an employee at the UPS Customer Center on Westport Lane in Hermiston did last night, after seeing a large animal roaming a nearby property. Authorities say the caller contacted dispatch shortly before 1 in the morning on October 21st, 2021, on a stretch of land near his job site. A Umatilla County Sheriff's deputy responded to the scene and spotted what he described as a large bear. He took a quick picture shown above and shifted his focus towards notifying the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. Since last night, there has not been any further updates about this creature. It has not been spotted or reported in the Hermiston area since. However, a majority of commenters on the UCSO Facebook page believes that the image is not a bear, but a large dog instead. Both the UPS employee and the Umatilla County deputy reported seeing a bear. We'll leave you to make your own conclusions on what kind of animal this is, and we'll issue an update if Umatilla County authorities announce further details about this appearance. Here is another news article, and I have a feeling that either the media is finally starting to recognize that these creatures exist, or they are trying to mislead us with a different cryptid than what I think this picture above is showing us, which would be a dogman. Was it a bear, a big dog, or a Bigfoot sighting in Hermiston? Whatever it was, it has not been seen since. Bear sighting, Westport Lane, Hermiston. Yesterday morning, before 1 a.m., October 21st, 2021, an employee of UPS called dispatch and reported an adult black bear was roaming the backside of the property off Westport Lane in Hermiston. UCSO Deputy Seeks responded to the area and spotted a very large bear. He was able to get a quick picture. UDFW was notified. We have not received any other reports since then. Upon arrival, a Umatilla County Sheriff's deputy was able to snap a quick photo of what he described to be a large bear. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife was notified. As of now, there has not been any other bear sightings reported in the Hermiston area. Posters on the Umatilla County Sheriff's Office Facebook page state they believe it was a large dog. Both the UPS employee and sheriff's deputy confirmed that they saw a large bear. Now, a great number of people that have seen this post on the Umatilla County Sheriff's Facebook page feel that it is a very, very large dog, which only leads me to say dog man. To me, it looks like a dog man. Does not look like a bear. Does not look like a Bigfoot. Now, the sheriff and the UPS employee are both stating it's a black bear. Well, misidentification. But a lot of people, I mean, you have to think about the amount of people that are saying this is a large dog, a huge dog. Why would they say that? Why wouldn't they just go, yeah, it's a bear. It's a bear. But then the media on this one throws in Sasquatch to kind of throw us off the path. You know, they made sure that they said the sheriff is adamantly saying it was a bear. But then the media is saying, no, maybe it was a Sasquatch. Maybe. Just maybe. Well, I say no. I say this is a dogman. I mean, there has been numerous accounts of dogmen on the Pacific Northwest. Funny enough, though, there's an interesting Sasquatch sighting in Umatilla as well. Umatilla County, Oregon, near Hermiston, June 2003. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan, and this is my encounter. I went out to Hermiston, Oregon for summer to visit with my family. My nephew wanted to take me fishing. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon when we went to the Umatilla River. On the old river road, we parked by the road and walked about a quarter of a mile to the river on a path that had trees filled with blackberries on both sides of it. Until about 5:30 that evening, and then decided to go back to the road where he had parked. We had a little bit of a walk ahead of us, and it was starting to get dark. We had only walked a little ways down the path, maybe 20 yards, when we heard branches snapping and twigs breaking in the blackberry entangled trees. As we walked a little faster, the sound seemed to be keeping up with us. It sounded like it was about 20 to 30 feet out in the thicket behind us. By this time, we were scared and started to run. We went up this little hill and up onto the road, and as we got there, I turned around and looked down the path toward the sun, which was just starting to set. Suddenly, a tall, dark figure came out onto the path, and it stood there for about a minute and then went back into the woods. All I can tell you from the silhouette of the figure was that it was large, with long, reddish-brown hair. Whatever it was big, really big. It stood about 7 to 8 feet tall. There are fishermen all up and down that part of the river, and yet nobody has seen anything. I wonder why. This happened June 2003. This is my first time sharing it. It was a scary fishing trip on the Umatilla River. Now, that sighting does not say he believes he saw a Sasquatch. All it says is he saw a very large 7 to 8 foot humanoid creature covered in fur. Could have been a dog man. Could have been a Sasquatch. Who knows? I wasn't there. You weren't there. We don't know. He didn't get a side view. He got a frontal view, and that's all he got. Now, myself, I look at this picture, and I see a dog man. Now, you may look at the picture and see a bear, and that's your right. I can't tell you what to see. Okay, but I myself see a dog man. I see a very abnormally large dog walking on all fours through a field. I don't see a bear. I see a creature that is looking for either food, shelter, or water, or maybe it was just out for an evening stroll in Umatilla. But a 99.1% chance this is a dog man. That's how I feel. And I really just hope you guys do too. If you don't, that's fine. Could be a bear, could be a Bigfoot. Heck, I don't know, it could be a guy in a ghillie suit. But myself and a large group of people feel this is a huge dog. Well, it's an awful big dog, and just by kind of doing some analysis and perspective, look, if it stood up, this thing would easily be 7.5 to 8 feet tall. Here are a couple of encounters to go along with this beautiful picture of a dog man, or a bear, or a Sasquatch, but I think it's a dog man. I don't know. But here's a couple of encounters to go with it. Me, my two brothers, and his girlfriend were out enjoying a beautiful sunset at one of our many beautiful nature spots we love to go to. There was a lake, so my brothers were fishing off the edge as we sat, made a fire, and watched. We were there for quite a while. It was starting to get kind of dark now, and usually that means it's really dark inside the woods. We still needed to walk back to the car. So, as we were getting ready to go, everything got dead silent. It was odd. The birds had gone quiet. No sounds of squirrels, woodchucks, or any of the previous background noises from earlier. Nothing. After about what seemed like forever, but in reality was maybe a few seconds, out of nowhere, we started to hear this howling and yelping from what we thought were coyotes, and they did not sound far away. It sounded like they could have been 20 of them. My brother picked up his 12 gauge and told us all to move quickly. If those coyotes were hungry in a pack that big, we could be in some trouble. We were in full sprint back to the car. The coyotes sounded like they were getting closer and closer. One point, like they were right on our tail. It was pretty scary. It seemed like they were after us at the time, but when I think back, I think they were running from something. Because no coyotes attacked us when we had to stop to get into the car. And there were 4 of us. We had to stop and open the doors. If they were after us, they could have easily taken one of us at that point, but right as we reached the car, it sounded as if though they had turned to the left and were running off in that direction. But we were all too spooked and wanted to get the heck out of there. On the way home, we have this little pull-off that runs parallel to the main road. My brother notices a little sign made by hand in the wood that said Werewolf Howl. Mind you that we lived here all our lives and have never seen this. Been this way dozens and dozens of times. Never once saw that sign. So the entrance to this pull-off has a sign that says Werewolf Howl. So we decide to take it because it piqued our brother's interest. Along this pull-off was a guardrail. Behind the guardrail is about a 70-foot drop to a sheep farm in our area. We rounded the turn where we couldn't see around, and we came up to this creature. Huge, hairy. It had pointed ears, that of a German shepherd's ears. It had piercing, green, yellowish eyes, and the eyes were separated just like a human's. Its arms hung past its knees. It appeared to be at least 8 feet tall and hunched over. We came around the turn. My brother stops in the middle of the road. This thing is looking at our headlights while we are trying to make sense of what we're looking at. It did not look like a bear. What the hell else would look like that? After a few seconds, this thing turns back around, takes one hand, and lifts itself up over the guardrail for the 70-foot drop, all in one swift motion. We were all a bit too creeped out to go and look and see if we could see anything. It was dark anyway. The next day, my brother and I went down to the farm at the bottom of that 70-foot drop. We saw this thing jump over. We told them what we had seen and if we could walk back on the property to see if we could find any remains. As we were walking, the farmer was telling us about how sheep had been coming up dead with their throats torn out. Said it was the strangest thing because most game in the area hunt for food to eat. These attacks seemed vicious, without purpose, and that was the weird thing. He also told us that they had saliva tests found on the neck of one of his sheep. It tested positive for an unknown canine. The wooden sign at the entrance of the pull-off was gone as well when we had gone back. We saw these things, all four of us. It was not a hallucination. Any suggestions on what it could have been? A bear is ruled out. All four of us agreed that there was no way it was a bear with the features this thing had. It was scary human-looking with hair. Bigfoot? I thought it was supposed to be a nice species. My personal opinion is that we saw a real-life werewolf or dogman. The others are much more skeptical than I am, though. Because none of us know what we saw, we talked about it. I honestly believe we saw a dogman, or maybe some sort of new animal species yet to be discovered. My brother's girlfriend was scared and didn't really want to add any to the speculation. My brothers were baffled. One of them kept trying to convince himself it was a huge bear, and the other believed it could have been anything, but neither one of them share my point of view. The whole experience was just wild. The animal's eyes, they looked human. The separation and the color was unreal. I've never before or after this seen or experienced anything like it. I never thought that it could have been a prank because of the series of events and how they played out. I still don't let it affect me. I enjoy nature. It just assures me that there are still things out there that we do not understand yet. Today's next encounter. Okay, there's this huge inner city park with a baseball field way in the back, far away from the inner parking lot, that snuggled up to a famous duck pond where us kids would love to hang out and smoke pot near, usually after park hours. One time I was with this girl parked there near the pond. It was a quiet night, not too cold, and I'm not sure if it was breezy or not, but we were making out. People gonna gender assume now, LOL. As usual, we both heard this weird low growl coming from the direction of the baseball field. It was not a dog. It was more from a horror movie. It sounded real, so it wasn't someone TV or on a PA. It didn't sound like a wolf or a coyote, which are kind of often seen in the area due to how close we are to a largish wooded area in the park. It's about 5 miles or so. We both heard it, looked at each other, and both decided to get the heck out of there super quick and never went back to hang out there again at night. Weird that it only sounded one time, and recounting the story a few times after we had the sound stuck in our heads. And no, it was not a person trying to make a sound because it was too animalistic to be a human. And the sounds I've heard coyotes make weren't even close to that. Plus, it was extremely loud. Like, I'm sure all the houses, had someone been outside or a window open, would have heard it as well. I'm unsure of how to track down any reports from the area if there are some exotic animals that was left out of the news, or if we really saw a dog man in the inner city, or any other kind of demonic dog roaming around the super large park at that time. And the next encounter. This happened a couple months back. If I remember, in July. I was down at the lake house in Texas with my cousin. We had 2 houses right by each other, a guest house and the main house. One night, myself and my cousin are hanging out, and we decided to go and screw around. Maybe go ride on the pontoon for a bit. It was 12:30 in the morning, and our grandparents were asleep, but they trust us. So him and I are headed down to the dock. Well, I'm grabbing my stuff on the table under the house while he was down at the dock lowering the pontoon. While I was grabbing my wallet, I noticed something in the tree line right by the fence. It looked a lot like a coyote, but 3 times bigger, and it was looking me dead in my eyes. I was petrified. The big gate was the only thing blocking me and whatever this thing was. I then grabbed my wallet and walked fast to the dock and said nothing to my cousin as we got the boat off the dock and took off. We rode around for a few hours and came back. When we came in, I was going to put the boat up while he went to the house. While I was putting the boat on the lift, I heard my cousin yell, "Oh my God!" I ran up to him and he was staring straight at this thing. This time it was across the fence, staring at us. We were both frozen, terrified. He said run, and we both ran as fast as we could up the stairs and into the house. I thought I saw it running after us, but I really don't know. We locked the big door and shut the windows. We heard what sounded like growling all night long until about 6:30 in the morning. We asked our grandfather if he had heard anything, and my grandfather said, "I did. It sounded like something was banging on my floor, but I ignored it. By the way, these homes are on stilts because of a high chance of flooding." My cousin and I both told my grandfather and grandmother about it, and they both knew what we were talking about, as we all have Indian blood in us, and we all believe in that kind of stuff. So they told our parents and everyone else. They tore the place down, sold it, and moved to a different lake, way more nicer, and a good amount of neighbors. I don't remember it exactly, but it looked exactly like a coyote, and it was not scared of us like a coyote would be. It had yellow eyes, and it was big with a hunched back. And the final encounter. For a little context, I was 16 at the time. This was in Massachusetts, late 2019. I was sitting on my roof smoking a cigarette in the pitch black. This is something I did nightly. My backyard is completely enclosed with fencing and trees. So if an animal enters the property, I'd hear it hop the fence, and I did, though this sounded huge. I could hear clomping of hooves, but the steps were much too heavy to be a deer. I got a horrible pit in my stomach. The side of the roof I was on was right above where this thing was. I turned on my phone's flashlight to see if I could catch a glimpse of what it was. But my crappy iPhone flash only shines 2 feet in front of me, so I saw nothing. But suddenly, as I shone the light down onto whatever this thing was, it let out the most guttural, blood-curdling screech I have ever heard. No animal I have ever heard could make this noise. Could it have maybe been a fat, rabid deer? Sure, but things sounded demonic. I freaked out and popped back into my room, running downstairs to tell my dad, to which he laughed it off, but I never forgot. The feeling that overcame me, I could feel it staring at me. Never felt so suddenly endangered before. I have another incident which happened the same year in the same neighborhood. I was walking home from a friend's house. It was getting darker and darker. As I crossed the woods into my neighborhood, I heard something rustle behind me. Emerging from the woods a few feet behind me, the same heavy walking and hooves I had heard before. Stopping dead in my tracks, I got that same feeling, paralyzed with fear. But my body would not let me turn around to face whatever this thing was. I stood there for a few seconds, feeling its eyes on my back. Then I ran. I ran as fast as I possibly could, hearing this thing chase me a few blocks, and then it just stopped. Only then did my mind permit me to turn around, and there was nothing but the fear and panic I felt. I wouldn't just feel some stupid deer or dog that had followed me. This thing wanted me. I'm convinced it was the same thing that visited me in my backyard not too long after. Since I didn't truly see it or fully see it, I unfortunately can't describe the visual, but based on the sound, and when I had one right behind me, they're big, huge. I believe they probably look like a giant deer based on the hoof sounds. When it was chasing behind me a few seconds, I sort of saw a large dark mass out of the corner of my eye, animal-like but way too large for any animal in the Northeast, but also for sure was not a human. And that sound, that guttural scream, I've never heard a sound like that before or after.
All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. Your support is honestly what makes the channel continue to grow and go and what makes it special. Please, everybody, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there. Yes, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.